Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where we review movies and TV shows, including Marvel Comics and DC Comics and much more. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment. Hit that notification button so you can be always updated with our latest content. And here are our latest reviews. Baby, let's go. Now, this is the review for Spider-Man No Way Home, the spoiler review. So this is the spoiler review. I have a non-spoiler review on the YouTube channel. So you haven't seen the movie, but you want to check out the reviews, go on Great Talking Entertainment on YouTube. Look out for the non-spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home, baby. Let's go. Like I said, this is a spoiler review, so I'm going to get into it. We learn that after Far From Home, when Spider-Man's identity is revealed to the whole world that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, him and his friends start struggling through life, basically. And for the reason of Spider-Man's identity just being revealed, because the whole world knows who Spider-Man is, and it consider him a murderer, because Mysterio's team edited a video to make it look like he killed Mysterio, which Spider-Man never did, obviously. So, as they're trying to live their everyday life and go to school and try to apply at college, life becomes a little difficult because in this film, as they're trying to get accepted to the colleges they want to get into, and then the made one in Boston, um, those colleges don't want them just because of the association or just because they know who Spider-Man is, and they don't want that drama, the danger in their lives at their college. And, even before that, when Spider-Man was getting, investigated by the cops, even their friends and Aunt May to Happy Hogan, they all got investigated by the police. And yeah, they decided, we got to go to Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange just come up with an idea that they're going to use this spell that makes people forget who Spider-Man is. But problem is, once Doctor Strange does that, all his friends and his loved ones, including Mary Jane or MJ, we'll just call her MJ, uh, they're gonna forget Peter Parker, about everything. They won't know who Spider-Man is no more, but they won't know Peter Parker. It's like they never met him or whatever. So, but this is the way that could help Spider-Man keep his identity. J. Jensen Jonah, who runs the Daily Bugle, is the same one that you saw in Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi's version. So, he's like, that Spider-Man is a menace. He's an outlaw. He's trouble, blah, blah, blah. And, Spider-Man's getting tired of this. So, as they decide to do this, but what you learn, this is the first attempt, because when Doctor Strange tried to do this, Spider-Man wasn't really ready to make that sacrifice, because he was like, hey, can Ned, can Aunt May, can MJ, and such can they keep the secret? Can they keep the memory of me being Spider-Man? And Doctor Strange tried, but Spider-Man was just not ready, and he stopped it. But what happened was, whatever Doctor Strange did, the multiverse started acting up, and you start seeing these Spider-Man villains from the Sam Raimi to the Amazing Spider-Man. We seen three characters slash villains: Doctor Octavius, the Green Goblin, and the Sandman, who are all from the Tobey Maguire, aka Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And then Electro and the Lizard, they're from the Amazing Spider-Man, which is Andrew Garfield's film. And they all show up in Tom Holland. So now you have the multiverse is breaking up. You see every Spider-Man villain trying to come through his the Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man's Earth and battling because when they mess up the first time on the spell, this opened the big multiverse gate where different villains from different Spider-Man Earths will come and attack you, and that's what happened. But eventually, Spider-Man does make that sacrifice, and this time Doctor Strange actually does it. And now, out of the whole movie, we know that Spider-Man is a secret. Spider-Man is safe, and nobody knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker now. But that includes his friends and his loved ones. So that kind of makes sense because as we get into it now, if you want to know the exact timeline of Spider-Man No Way Home, this is like the month of August, September, and October. Okay, so it's actually they're 2 months before the Hawkeye series in the story of the timeline, because we know in the Marvel show on Disney Plus, Hawkeye, we know that show takes place during December, which is the this is a Christmas season with a lot of Christmas themes. Obviously, they're shooting enough episodes to lead up all the way to Christmas, obviously, and then that's it. So we know Hawkeye takes place in December, maybe late November, but the event that happened in Spider-Man No Way Home, that event took place before that. So now we know that Hawkeye does not remember Spider-Man, does not remember Peter Parker, and that they have not yet answered the way that's going to work now, because they still answers the questions. What about the Guardian of the Galaxy? What about Thor? What about Captain Marvel? What about Nick Fury? Unanswered questions. I definitely don't have those answers, but the answer I do have is, since Hawkeye was on Earth and in the spell Doctor Strange, everybody in the whole world will forget Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So even though Hawkeye wasn't in New York at that particular moment, he was still on Earth, and he knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker. And so that makes sense, because if you notice that Hawkeye never mentioned Spider-Man, and he's in New York City, you know, he's not telling Kate Bischoff, "Oh, I got a guy that is your friendly. I know the." He's not going, "Hey, I got a guy that you might know. He's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I know who his identity is." He doesn't remember, and so that's why you don't see Hawkeye really mentioning Spider-Man. But could Spider-Man show up in that show? I don't know. Wouldn't make sense to me, but it might. It might, but it could happen just because, like I said, the Spider-Man No Way Home takes place September, August, September, and October. That's where they're at. And maybe November, but Hawkeye definitely takes place in the month of December. So it's really Spider-Man No Way Home. So there's that. So that's the timeline of it. Let's talk about the next topic, Daredevil. Now, this is the Daredevil from Netflix, who is played by the actor Charlie Cox. So, let's get into it. Netflix. It's a 50-50 chance that they're going to emerge the Daredevil origin story that was told in season 1 and throughout the other seasons of Daredevil on Netflix, and they're going to take that whole story and the whole plot and merge it into the MCU, or it's the same actor but a different origin story, which could be a reboot to Daredevil. So it's 50-50 and yes or no between how this can go. But I don't know the deal, copyrights with Netflix and Marvel as far as that show and like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and the Iron Fist. Like, I don't know, but Um, from what it looks like, because we know in Hawkeye on episode 4 or episode 5, I believe. Yep, it was episode 5. That it's the Kingpin is the boss that hired Hawkeye, and it's the same actor who played Kingpin in the Daredevil show on Netflix. So it's the same actors playing the same characters. So now we have two official Netflix slash Marvel characters in the MCU, which is Daredevil and Kingpin, and they both are in New York. So is this? I would have to say no. I would have to say no to them merging the story and the plot of the Netflix Daredevil, just because it's a little bit dark and gritty, and I'm not talking about like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier got dark and gritty. I'm talking about this is like rated R TVMA type blood and violence that the Daredevil show had because when there was a lot of blood, a lot of bone cracking, a lot of brutal hits, even more than Batman, like the Dark Knight, more vicious than that, and obviously Batman v Superman more vicious. So, but I get it because it was on Netflix. They had a little bit more room to play. But the one thing I don't know. So I'd have to say no. I don't think they'll do that because, like I said, that show was a little bit dark and grittier and not really suitable for kids in a way. It wasn't PG-13 at all. So I would say no, but if they did, then that gives us the next question. What's Daredevil's timeline in the MCU? Like, what's his official timeline? How do you merge that show, and where do you place it? Do you go by the Easter eggs and the reference to the first Avengers movie, or after or before? I don't know, but that's the next question. And when will we see Daredevil again? We know we're gonna see Kingpin soon during Christmas week. So, well, I'm not saying officially we'll see him, but the episode's coming out this Christmas weekend or week, like the week of Christmas or week before maybe. We might see the Kingpin, like actual Kingpin with a full scene with a full line and whatnot. So not just throw off the cell phone that Kate Bishop showed Hawkeye. So that could be a possible thing. But they're definitely sticking with the Netflix characters of those Marvel characters, obviously. All the next topic is all three Spider-Man. So instead of saying Spider-Man, Peter Parker, I was gonna say the actual actors' names for this one. So I do like the fact when it comes to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they are merging their story in the MCU, which I definitely like that about what Marvel Studios did, and I like the idea that Sony agreed to it, and they're really working together well on these newer Spider-Man films and stuff. And and the reason why I like that because this helps establish Spider-Man, Tom Holland, who made the wrong choices and who's trying to make the right choices because Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in this film they seem a little bit more darker and grittier because they're going they're like the aftermath of what after the last film of Spider-Man films they did. So for Tobey Maguire that's Spider-Man 3. For Andrew Garfield that's just the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So they already went through their tragics. They already did their come up. They already did their maturing. Now Tom Holland is like a rookie. He's a newbie, and so these two Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they're there to help him make the better choices, better than those two did, because they didn't have somebody to mentor them during the Spider-Man experience. So it's basically they're all three Peter Parkers, but these two Peter Parkers have done lived it experience and they're matured. So they're gonna pass the torch and guide this younger Peter Parker, aka Tom Holland, to make the right decisions and help him move on because that Tom Holland's he's still maturing and he's in his senior year of high school, so he's having a bad school year and he's having a bad year, obviously. And we get to the conclusion of Aunt May's death. So Tom Holland's Aunt May was killed by the Green Goblin, and this indicates that she's the Uncle Ben. She's the Uncle Ben of the MCU because she said the famous quote, with great power comes great responsibility." And when all three Spider-Men finally meet, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield mentioned their Uncle Ben, and they said the quote. So yeah, it just seems like Aunt May is the Uncle Ben. She even died. It like got in a way like Uncle Ben did. I mean, yes, she was killed by the Green Goblin, but it's where the wound was at. It's the way her back was on the ground, basically, and she died in a similar way. Let's just say it like that. She died in a similar way, like Uncle Ben, which is just by a villain. You know, for Tom Holland, it was you know giving the Green Goblin a second chance, or thought he could help him. For Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, it was somebody. It was a robber. It was a street thug or whatever. So it had these elements, but it still was the villain that killed the aunt or uncle at this point. And I'm okay with that. I mean, me personally, I think we seen the death of Uncle Ben. I think people around the world, even the ones who don't really watch superhero movies like that, they're very well aware of Spider-Man's famous for his Uncle Ben, dying, just like Batman and his parents in a way. So I am okay with that, honestly. The next topic is Doctor Strange. Wow, Doctor Strange was good in this, even though he wasn't in there through the whole film. But his role was very amazing, and it played an important role. This also shows us that this Doctor Strange is acting different, and you know, in the I want not the post credit, but the after the post credit scene. If you stayed in the theaters, and like I said, this is a spoiler, so I'm just gonna spoil it. They showed a Doctor Strange trailer, and the Supremium Doctor Strange showed up, and so this this trailer indicates how important Marvel What If is, and how connected Marvel's What If is very connected to the MCU. And this is going to explain why in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, because they showed that trailer after the post credit scene, after you watch all the rolling credits and stuff. But definitely worth to wait in theaters after that. But Doctor Strange is different, and I hope we get more answers to that because I don't know which Doctor Strange this was. Fun fact that in this film, Wong later now because of Doctor Strange was basically gone for 5 years, so Wong got the mantle of being in charge of the whole thing with Doctor Strange and stuff. So it's Wong's responsibility, but in that one, you notice Wong is going through a portal, which he was actually going to the fight that little fight club thing in the Shang-Chi movie, and that's where he's went. That's why he wasn't in the film. He already went it. So there's that. But will Doctor Strange get to be in charge again? Will he be the ruler of all like of warlords and wizards and all that? I don't know. We'll have to find out on that. But this film also just teased of what you should expect from Doctor Strange, and a lot of questions will hopefully be answered soon. Um, then let's get to Venom. Well, after after Doctor Strange put that spell, all the Marvel villains, Spider-Man villains, disappeared, went back to their timeline, their Earth, their multiverse, including that, but Tom Hardy's Venom. But I was like, that sucks, because I was really hoping to see Tom Hardy and Spider-Man interact, but the way he disappeared, a part of Venom, a little bit of symbiote stayed in Tom Holland's MCU. Well, in the MCU, basically. So now we have a symbiote growing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that means that I well here it can mean a lot of things, but the two things it means is one, they're not going to have Tom Hardy and Tom Holland meet as Venom and Spider Man, but it looks like Sony is allowing Marvel Studios to have their own version of Venom. But who was going to take it? Could it be Flash Thomas? I hope so. Could it be him, Spider Man? Definitely hope so. Or it could mean both. It could be both. Like Tom Hardy is Venom, Eddie Brock will show up back into the MCU to help Spider Man out to face the MCU's version of Venom. And I think that's really cool. But also that kind of, like I said, they might push that back further away of those two characters meeting, like Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and Tom Holland's Peter Parker. It seems like it's going to be further back into the later on in a later much phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, basically. But I hope not. I hope not. I hope they don't wait too long with that. We definitely want to see Venom, aka Eddie Brock, aka Tom Hardy, back in the MCU. But we definitely want to see another person with the symbiote suit, whether it's Spider Man or Flash, Thomas, or whoever. We just want to see it. I know I want to. So it could be any of those. So just expect that Venom will be in the MCU. We don't know which way it's going to be. Hopefully, I'm not trying to be too selfish, but they can give us both and have them both in the same scene. Two Venoms and a Spider-Man. I wouldn't be mad at that. I'd be okay with that. I'm dead serious. Would love that. Um, and then as my final thoughts, what I think, I think Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, basically, he's not going to him and MJ. I think their love story is gonna extend throughout the MCU because I don't think they're gonna just do Spider-Man 4 and then bam, they're back in love. I think they're gonna, spread that out a little bit longer past Spider-Man 4, basically. So that's another thing I think is gonna happen, and I think Ned could have a bigger role. Whether he's gonna be the next villain or he's gonna be the next hero, because Doctor Strange was pretty impressed with Ned, how he opened the little vortex gate, like Doctor Strange does. So he was impressed. So he could be the next Strange. Who knows? So there's a lot of things going on. So I like it. So if I had to give this movie a 1 out of 10, I'm definitely giving it a solid 10. So thank you for listening to my reviews. Please let me hear your opinions in the comments on Great Talk and Entertainment on YouTube. Please subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be up to date with all our latest content.